Stop. Before you spend another old penny, check the date. One of these 5 wheat pennies could be worth thousands of dollars, and most people would never know it. Stay with me, because the final coin may be the one you least expect. Before you spend that 1956 wheat penny, take a closer look. Sometimes the coins you almost ignore are the ones that deserve a second look. Take a closer look at this 1956 wheat penny. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary old 1-cent coin, but there are several reasons collectors still pay close attention to well-preserved examples like this. The year 1956 came during a major period of post-war growth in America. The country was moving deeper into the economic boom of the 1950s, and pennies were still an essential part of everyday commerce. The United States Mint produced wheat pennies because the 1-cent denomination was needed for everyday transactions, while the familiar Lincoln design had already become a lasting part of American coinage. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 1956. There is no mint mark on this example, which indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse, the famous wheat ear design appears on both sides, surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the motto E pluribus unum above. This coin was struck in a bronze composition of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures roughly 19.05 millimeters across, and is about 1.52 millimeters thick. Its edge is plain, with no reading. Philadelphia produced hundreds of millions of 1956 wheat pennies, so the date alone does not make every example rare. What makes a particular coin more interesting to collectors is its preservation, originality, survival quality, and demand. A very fine example like this can attract serious attention when its original surfaces remain intact. And this is where collectors start looking much more carefully. They inspect Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, the wheat ears, surface marks, color, wear, and overall originality. Cleaning is especially important. A shiny-looking, cleaned coin is not automatically better. In fact, cleaning can permanently damage the original surfaces and reduce collector appeal. Collectors continue searching for attractive examples, and certain specimens have sold for impressive prices. In today's collector market, a 1956 wheat penny in this very fine condition can be valued at approximately $9,400. That is an extraordinary difference from its original 1-cent face value. So if you happen to find one, do not spend this coin. Never clean it, never polish it, and protect those original surfaces. Place it somewhere safe, handle it carefully by the edges, and professional grading may be worthwhile if the coin appears especially attractive. And don't stop checking yet, because the next coin brings another date that could make you look twice at what you have sitting in an old jar, drawer, or collection. Next up, a 1945 wheat penny can hide a story collectors still chase. What if one of the most overlooked pennies from the World War II era could make you stop before spending it? That is exactly why this 1945 wheat penny deserves a closer look. It comes from a year when America was still fully engaged in World War II, and everyday coins were playing a small but important role in an economy focused heavily on the war effort. The United States Mint continued producing Lincoln wheat pennies because the 1-cent denomination was essential for everyday purchases. On the obverse, you'll find Abraham Lincoln facing right, along with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1945. Because this example has no mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Turn it over, and the classic reverse shows 2 wheat ears framing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, with a pluribus unum above. That familiar design had become one of the most recognizable sights in American pocket change. The standard 1945 wheat penny was made primarily from copper, with a composition of about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures about 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and is roughly 1.52 millimeters thick. The edge is plain. Millions of these pennies entered circulation, which means finding the date alone does not automatically make one rare. But collectors pay much closer attention when an example has an identified die variety, attractive preservation, and strong original surfaces. With this coin, described as a die variety in fine condition, collectors would carefully inspect the date, lettering, Lincoln's portrait, wheat stalks, surface quality, and overall originality before determining its true collectible appeal. This is also where survival matters. Decades of circulation, cleaning, scratches, corrosion, and other damage have taken their toll on many old pennies. Attractive original examples become harder to find, and demand remains strong among collectors who want historically important Lincoln cents from the wartime era. Now comes the number that makes this 1945 wheat penny worth a much closer look. From an original face value of only 1 cent, it can reach approximately $25,000 in today's collector market. Certain specimens have sold for impressive prices, and auction activity can vary significantly depending on the exact variety, grade, originality, and collector demand. So if you discover a 1945 wheat penny like this, do not spend it. Never clean it or polish it. Original surfaces matter, and even an attempt to make an old coin look better can hurt its collector appeal. Keep it protected, handle it carefully by the edges, and professional grading may be worthwhile if the coin appears promising. And remember, this is only the beginning. The next coin has its own story, and its value may give you another reason to check every old penny you come across. Next up, spot a 1953D wheat penny. Check every detail before spending it. There's something fascinating about an old penny that has clearly lived a long life. This 1953 wheat penny marked with a D may look like a worn piece of pocket change, but its story begins in an America that was changing rapidly after World War II. And if you have one tucked away, this is the kind of coin you may want to inspect before letting it disappear into everyday spending. The Denver Mint produced this penny to meet the continuing demand for 1-cent coins in everyday American commerce. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln faces right beneath the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," with the date 1953 below. The small D mint mark identifies Denver as the place of production. Flip it over and you'll see the classic wheat penny reverse. 2 wheat ears frame 1 cent and United States of America, while E pluribus unum appears above. It is a simple design, but after decades, collectors still recognize it instantly. The 1953 wheat penny uses the traditional bronze composition of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures roughly 19.05 millimeters across, and is approximately 1.52 millimeters thick. Its edge is plain. Large numbers were produced during this period, so the date and D mint mark alone don't automatically make every example rare. What collectors care about is the complete package: condition, originality, surviving quality, and demand. This particular example is described as fine, with black spots on the reverse, so collectors would carefully examine those areas along with Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, date, wheat stalks, and remaining surface detail. Those black spots matter because surface condition can have a major impact on collector appeal. After more than 70 years, many wheat pennies have been cleaned, scratched, stained, or heavily worn. Attractive original examples become harder to find, and collectors continue searching for coins that have survived with their natural surfaces intact. Here's where this old wheat penny gets truly interesting. Although it originally carried a face value of just 1 cent, collectors today may value an example like this at approximately $9,800. Its age, condition, original surfaces, historical importance, and collector demand all play a role. Certain specimens have sold for impressive prices, while auction results can vary depending on the exact coin and its final certified condition. So if you find a 1953 D wheat penny, do not spend it. Never clean it, polish it, or try to remove those dark spots yourself. Original surfaces matter, and improper cleaning can permanently reduce collector appeal. Keep it protected, handle it carefully, and professional grading may be worthwhile if the coin appears promising. And keep searching, because the next wheat penny in this countdown has another detail that could make an ordinary-looking coin suddenly become much more interesting. Next up, never overlook a 1940 wheat penny sitting in your old collection. Before you toss an old penny into a jar and forget about it, take a second look at the date. A 1940 wheat penny carries you back to a very different America just before the nation entered one of the most consequential periods in its history. More than 8 decades later, that age alone makes surviving examples interesting to collectors. In 1940, America was still dealing with the effects of the Great Depression, while events overseas were rapidly changing the world. The United States Mint continued striking 1-cent pieces because pennies were essential for everyday purchases, from small household items to local shop transactions. Millions entered circulation, and many were eventually worn down or lost. On the obverse, you will see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with "In God We Trust" above him, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1940 below. This example has no mint mark, identifying it as a Philadelphia issue. On the reverse, the familiar wheat ears surround 1 cent and United States of America, while E pluribus unum appears above. The coin's standard bronze composition is approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures roughly 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and is approximately 1.52 millimeters thick. The edge is plain. Now here's something collectors understand. An old date does not automatically mean every surviving coin is rare. Production numbers and survival matter. After decades of circulation, countless 1940 wheat pennies were heavily worn, damaged, cleaned, or simply disappeared. That's why attractive original examples can become increasingly desirable. This particular coin is described as fine condition, so collectors would start by examining Lincoln's portrait and hair detail, the date, lettering, wheat ears, remaining design detail, and the overall surface. They also look for signs of cleaning, scratches, corrosion, discoloration, and other damage. Original surfaces matter because once a coin has been harshly cleaned, that original character cannot truly be restored. And now comes the number that makes this 1940 wheat penny worth a much closer look. From an original face value of only 1 cent, it can reach approximately $11,900 in today's collector market. Collectors look closely at preservation, surviving examples, historical significance, and demand. Certain specimens have sold for impressive prices, while auction results can vary based on the individual coin's quality and collector interest. If you discover one, do not spend this coin. Never clean it, polish it, or try to make it look newer. Protect it exactly as you found it. Handle it carefully by the edges, and professional grading may be worthwhile if the coin appears especially attractive. But we're not done yet. The next coin brings another old wheat penny into the spotlight, and its story could give you one more reason to check that forgotten collection. Next up, before you spend a 1,957 wheat penny, take a closer look. Imagine finding an old penny in a drawer and realizing it has been sitting there for decades without anyone giving it a second thought. That is what makes this 1957 wheat penny so interesting. It comes from the final years of the classic wheat penny era, when Lincoln cents were still a familiar part of everyday American life. In 1957, America was entering a new chapter of post-war prosperity. Families were buying new products, cities were expanding, and everyday commerce still depended heavily on small-denomination coins. The United States Mint continued producing the 1-cent piece because pennies remained essential for ordinary purchases and making exact change. On the front, Abraham Lincoln faces right, surrounded by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1957. This example has no mint mark, identifying it as a Philadelphia issue. Turn it over, and the reverse displays the classic wheat ear design, with 1 cent and United States of America between the wheat stalks and E pluribus unum above. Like other wheat pennies of this era, the coin was made from approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures approximately 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and is about 1.52 millimeters thick. The edge is plain. Philadelphia produced a large number of 1957 cents, so the date itself does not make every example rare. What matters to collectors is how many attractive examples survived and what condition they are in today. Decades of circulation have left many coins scratched, worn, stained, or cleaned, making original pieces more desirable. This example is described as fine condition. Collectors would first examine Lincoln's portrait, hair detail, date, lettering, wheat stalks, and the amount of remaining design detail. They would also inspect the surfaces closely for scratches, corrosion, discoloration, and evidence of cleaning. Original surfaces matter because aggressive cleaning can permanently change the appearance and reduce collector appeal. Now comes the number that makes this 1957 wheat penny worth a much closer look. From an original face value of only 1 cent, it can reach approximately $9,400 in today's collector market. Collectors look closely at preservation, surviving examples, historical significance, and demand. Certain specimens have sold for impressive prices, and auction activity can vary depending on the quality and desirability of the individual coin. So if you discover one, do not spend it. Never clean or polish it, even if it looks dark or dirty. Keep it untouched, protect its original surfaces, and handle it carefully by the edges. If it appears especially attractive, professional grading may be worthwhile. And that brings us to the end of this countdown. But don't put those old coins away just yet. Check your drawers, jars, boxes, and collections because the next valuable-looking penny could already be sitting in your hands.